यहाँ से करते हैं। और हम लोग यहाँ तक देख चुके थे कि किस तरह से जो पाकिस्तान रेजोल्यूशन की बात हम लोग लास्ट टाइम देखे थे. So that was passed, calling for grouping of geographically contiguous areas where Muslims were in majority into independent states which shall be autonomous and sovereign with adequate safeguards to Muslims where they were in minority. So that was all that you can learn or write about Pakistan resolution. And this resolution was drafted by Sikandar Hayat, presented by Fazlul Haq, and approved by Khaliquzaman. Now moving on today from here. So 1940, after completely rejecting the August proposal, this was presented by Lord Linlithgow in front of Congress. So in 1940, Congress completely rejected the August proposal of Linlithgow. Congress initiated individual CDM led by Gandhi. Now Acharya Vinoba Bhave was chosen as the first individual Satyagrahi, whereas Jawaharlal Nehru was chosen as the second Satyagrahi. Due to the rising power of Japan in World War II, America forced Britain to provide freedom to India. As a result, Britain sent Stafford Cripps under the prime ministership of Churchill, and Stafford Cripps arrived in March 1942 under the Cripps Mission. And Cripps Mission had mainly 4 points. It talked about the dominion status for India after the World War II, and right to form our own constitution, and provinces which were not ready, provinces which are not agreeing to the new constitution can remain out of the proposed union. And during the interim government, so there shall also be an interim government, but the interim government had to give their authorities related to defense, communications and external affairs under the viceroy. So these are the 4 points related to the Cripps Mission, which arrived in March 1942 under Sir Stafford Cripps. And during this time, the Prime Minister was Churchill. And Gandhi called the Cripps Mission as a post-stated check because it talked about dominion status, whereas the demands of Congress was complete independence by this time. From Congress side, the official negotiators in the Cripps Mission were Jawaharlal and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. Official negotiators from the Congress side, Jawaharlal Nehru and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad. Now, Linlithgow was the longest serving viceroy from 1936 to 1944, who called the movements of Gandhi as political blackmail. And developments of 1942 onwards, we can see that May 1942, Congress Working Committee met at Wardha, and the Quit India policy was discussed for the first time for framing Quit India resolution. So this was done in Wardha in 1942. The Quit India movement was still on papers in the form of resolutions in July 1942 at Wardha. So it was only at the policy level Quit India policy was discussed for the first time, and the resolution was to be drafted by Gandhi, presented by Jawaharlal Nehru, and it finally got approved by Sardar Patel on August of 8, 1942 in Gowalia Tank, Bombay. Gandhi also attributed a slogan to this movement, "Do or Die," but before the movement could start, all the veteran leaders were arrested under the Operation 0 Hours of British government, and Gandhi and Sarojini Naidu were kept in Aga Khan Palace, Pune, while other leaders at Ahmednagar Fort. So these were the two places where the veteran leaders of the Congress were imprisoned. This could be asked in the question. While Rajendra Prasad was arrested in Bankipur jail. This is in Patna. As a protest, Baldev Singh, who was the Advocate General of Bihar, he also resigned. So this could be another question, like which national leader was the Advocate General of Bihar who resigned from that post during the Quit India movement. So it was Baldev Singh. For the movement, Gandhi had given following instructions. During the Quit India movement, government employees were not to resign but support Congress. Students were not to quit studies. Students were to quit studies only if they were firm of their decision till complete independence is achieved. Soldiers were instructed not to shoot at their compatriots, and princes were asked to accept the sovereignty of their people. So that these were the demands of the Congress in general throughout the Quit India movement. Now, Hindu Mahasabha, Communist Party of India, Unionist Party of Punjab, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh did not support the Quit India movement. In fact, RSS did not support any nationalist movement from 1940 to 1947. How ironical that now this organization calls itself the champion of Hindu nationalism. These two leaders, Usha Mehta and Lohia, they frequently broadcasted the Congress radio secretly, while JP Narayan escaped the Hazaribagh jail. Now, don't get confused between Hazaribagh jail and Bankipur jail, right? Right, so we talked about Usha Mehta and Lohiya, and they broadcasted Congress radio secretly while JP Narayan escaped Hazaribagh jail. Now, the American journalist Louis Fisher was with Gandhi during the Quit India movement, and later he wrote a biography of Gandhi. Azamgarh, Balia, Gorakhpur, Gaya, Bhagalpur, Shahabad, Muzaffarpur, and Champaran in Bihar. These were the places where violence took place at great scale. The peasantry participation in Quit India movement made it more violent. Linlithgow described this as the most furious rebellion since Sepoy Mutiny. After Gandhi was arrested, riot targeted police stations. So during the Quit India movement, police stations, railway stations, and postal offices were specifically targeted, and maximum damages were done in Medinipur, Bengal, Balia, Uttar Pradesh, and Munger in Bihar. So these three places, Medinipur, Bengal, Balia, Uttar Pradesh, and Munger in Bihar, suffered maximum damages due to violence. Munger was cut off due to rail lines disruption. Now, some parallel governments were formed, like बंगाल में सतीश सावंत के अंतर्गत जतिया सरकार बना दिया गया था, जिसने साइक्लोन रिलीफ काम किया, ग्रांट्स टू स्कूल दिया, पैडी दिया पुअर को, और विद्युत वाहनीज बनाई थी. सो दैट वाज बंगाल के अंतर्गत सतीश सावंत के अंदर जतिया सरकार. वेरएज बलिया में चित्तू पांडे ने पैरेलल गवर्नमेंट बनाई थी. सतारा में वाई श्रवण और नाना पाटिल ने बनाई थी. सो आफ्टर क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट 1942, सी राजगोपालचारी wanted to give Muslim League the way out by offering them a plebiscite in Muslim majority areas. So this is famously called as the C. Rajagopalchari formula, and this was after the Quit India movement. Now, Subhash Chandra Bose was born in 1897 in Cuttack, and he formed the Forward Bloc in 1939 and became its president. Vice president of the Forward Bloc was Kevshir. Another member of Forward Bloc was Yazi. So Yazi and Kevshir were also associated with the Forward Bloc, that you should remember. Captain Mohan Bose was not the founder of Indian National Army. He was the first operational commander. The brains behind Indian National Army were of Fujiwara and Pritam Singh. But if in the option these two names are not given, then you have to choose Captain Mohan Bose as the founder of INA. The INA existed from February 1942. So that was the first date that you can remember when it got set up. Formed with the aid of Japanese. In its first phase, in its second incarnation occurred when Bose arrived at Singapore on 2nd of July 1943. After meeting in June Rash Bihari Bose in Tokyo, and formally announced the provisional government on 21st of October 1943, and took charge of INA. Now, Singapore at that time was part of the British Malaya. The head office of Azad Hind Fauj was at Rangoon. Subhash Chandra Bose also founded Free Indian Legion with 10,000 prisoners of war at Rommel battle that you should not remember. Just remember that Free Indian Legion is associated with Subhash Chandra Bose, and the head office of Azad Hind Fauj is located in Rangoon. He formed the Provisional Government of India on 21st of October 1943, and that's when he took charge of the INA. He also formed Rani Lakshmi Regiment, Subhash Brigade, Nehru Brigade, and Gandhi Brigade. So Rabindranath Tagore called Subhash Chandra Bose as Desh Nayak, while Gandhi called him as Patriot of Patriots. Azad Hind Fauj Day is celebrated on 12th of November 1945, whereas the INA week is from 5th November to 11th November every year. Now, in this week, why do we call this entire week as the INA week? Because in this, P.K. Sehgal, Shah Nawaz, and Gurbaksh Singh Dhillon were prosecuted. They were members of the INA, and Rashid Ali was sentenced 7 years of imprisonment at Red Fort Delhi trials. The Congress formed a defense committee with 17 advocates, including Balubhai Desai, Kadju, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Asaf Ali as advocates, advocating for the release of these people, P.K. Sehgal, Shah Nawaz, and Gurbaksh Dhillon. However, this person was already prosecuted and jailed for 7 years from the Red Fort Delhi trials. Interestingly, Muslim League also supported advocating the release of these INA soldiers. Now, after 1947, Jawaharlal secured majority support for his plan of guerrilla war against Japanese due to India's clear stand against Nazism, fascism, and imperialism. So, this point we will come back to that later. Cabinet mission arrived on 24th of March 1946 under the new Labour government Prime Minister Clement Attlee, as World War II had ended on 2nd of September 1945. उसके बाद कैबिनेट मिशन प्लान आया था. इट थॉट ऑफ डिवाइडिंग द प्रोविंसेस इनटू थ्री. सो बेसिकली 3-tier polity was envisaged in cabinet mission plan. It thought of dividing provinces into 3 groups, A, B, C. These groups were entitled to form their separate legislatures and prepare constitution according to their will, with the help of constituent assemblies to be elected by popular electorate. ठीक है. Cabinet mission announced its proposals on 16th of May 1946 with a plan to create united dominion of India through a federation. तो cabinet mission plan का एक point हो गया 3-tier polity. Provinces to be put under 3 groups A, B, C, where each group could form their own legislature as well as a constitution, which was to be made by a constituent assembly to be elected by popular electorate. Another point under the cabinet mission was to create a united dominion of India through a federation with, okay, the most important point is that demand for Pakistan was rejected in the cabinet mission plan. Constituent assembly would be formed with the representatives of the state legislatures as well as princely states, and it also proposed change in Viceroy's executive council, now to be held by only Indian members. Princes were allowed to either join India or sign an independent agreement with the British government. Although the demand for Pakistan was rejected, but Jinnah accepted it due to misunderstanding of the compulsory groupings. He thought that the provinces to be put under the groups ABC was compulsory and not optional. However, the groupings were optional. The provinces could opt out of joining a particular group, and this was the misunderstanding by Jinnah. So Muslim League rejected it later. Congress though anyway accepted it. So this is what we were talking about. Cabinet mission plan means 3-tier polity. Now NWFP, Sindh, Balochistan and Punjab, these are put under the group number B, whereas Bengal and Assam were put under the group number C. The rest of the provinces are put under group A. The province in a group could leave its group after first general election. Province in a group could leave its group after the first general election or 5 years after 5 years from the grouping. While it could, yes, so that is important. Next is lastly, there shall be an interim government, and Gandhi was totally in favor of the cabinet mission plan. His photo with Pethick Lawrence is printed on the currency notes. Pethick Lawrence was a member of the cabinet mission plan. From Congress side, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad was authorized by Congress to hold discussions with the cabinet mission plan, and it was in 1934 that the idea of constituent assembly was first proposed but officially recognized in 1935. So yes, constituent assembly was officially recognized in 1935. However, the first idea of constitution was seen in the Swaraj Videyak 1895. Now the constituent assembly was roughly in the ratio of 1 representative to 10 lakh persons on communal basis. Also, there were 3 classes of voters talked about in the cabinet mission plan. We had a general voter, a Muslim voter and a Sikh voter only in Punjab. General voter, Muslim voter, Sikh voter only in Punjab. तो अब आगे हम अगले वीडियो में